Okay, so welcome everyone to today's class. Today we are going to talk about the future of health sector, and to speak about this subject, we have got a very eminent and interesting expert joining us from Canada. Bivasan, what time is it in Canada right now?
It's 1:32 a.m. in the morning, so just past midnight.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I mean, to be available for us at this point of time, especially it's not a very easy time of the day for you. But just to give a brief introduction about Bivasan, Bivasan has been in the has over 13 years of experience in the bioscience in both in industry as academia, including in his area of expertise, which is bioinformatics, digital health, and commercialization. He's working as a director, market acceleration at the Ontario Bioscience Innovation Organization. In short, it's called OBIO, where he leads the Early Adapter Health Network program that assists the adaptation of innovative Canadian technologies into the Canadian health system. And of course, prior to that, he has worked with other organizations like the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. And before that, he was with Mount Sinai Hospital. And Vivasan has actually obtained MSc in psychiatry from University of Alberta, Canada. He's currently pursuing his PhD in bioinformatics from the same university. And of course, there's some more to talk about, but with the paucity of the time, I think I will stop here and I will let Bivasan to really take us through his area of expertise. And for doing that, I think I will make you the co-host so that you can actually share the deck to all of us.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, SP. Thanks for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here as well. Um, when SP approached me to do this, I was always intrigued to just share a little bit of my knowledge with everyone, just to inspire people to come, and have a great idea about this particular industry, which I've been serving for the last like 13, 14 years. I think healthcare is very essential in terms of an industry that can actually help people directly in terms of taking care for them, curing them. And it's not only about, like, it's like the first thing is precaution, then there's prevention, and then there's cure, right? And so in the whole sort of the cycle of life, healthcare plays an integral part, because it's obviously related to our human health. So what I am going to try today is just give you a glimpse of what in the future, right? What the topics that are trending right now, and what the kind of topics that are going to be relevant for the next 5 to 10 years, and even further along, right? So, and obviously, the industry has come a long way in the last 3 to 4 years, just because COVID accelerated a lot of research, development, and sort of focus into the industry as well. And now that we are past that stage, we now have like a good momentum in the industry to take it forward. A lot of more interesting things are coming to the forefront as well. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I have sort of designed this slide deck, keeping in mind that we'll have some time for Q&A, and some sort of activities at the end of the presentation. So I'll try to keep it short. So I'm going to cover quite a lot of topics over over the last next 20-25 minutes, hopefully, and then we'll have some questions and some Q&A time as well. So I'll just let me share my screen. So can you see my screen, everyone? All good? Okay, perfect. So the first thing that I wanted to, so this is just the agenda. So firstly, I want to talk about current healthcare trends and what we are seeing in the market right now. I'm going to talk about in the very basic sense, but also uh, some of the topics that I'll try to cover are going to be a little advanced. So please, do not worry if you don't understand the concepts, because these are things that a lot of people are doing actively research on. So these are new topics. So this, of course, there's a lot more to come out on these things. I'll just touch on it on the surface, just to give you an idea of what's going on. I'll talk about the therapeutics pharmaceuticals market a little bit, and what kind of new technologies, new research that's coming out there. Talk about medtech. Obviously, we have seen a great acceleration in the medtech industry over the last few years because of COVID as well, and where that's leading to. And then just to sort of sum up on kind of skills that you need for the future, to have a career in healthcare, be it MD, physician, or even an entrepreneur, or a healthcare professional in some way. So the first thing I wanted to just show you, this is a world map of healthcare delivery and how healthcare is delivered to the people, right? And I think this is very important for everyone to understand, because there are countries like Canada where it's universal healthcare and it's free of cost, it's government paid, whereas we in India, there's a mix of free and universal, but not universal healthcare, right? There's free care in government hospitals, and there's the private sector as well, right? So there's both a mix of government and private sector healthcare delivery, and then there's countries like US where there's no free or no universal healthcare, right? It's all paid by Medicare and Medicaid, which is payer driven system. um you know such there's other countries which are there as well, and then there's countries where only a few countries where there's universal healthcare, but it's not free, it has to be paid, and it's insurance driven, right? So there's different kinds of model that goes around the world, and the market also varies based on that as well. So if you see right now on, like, this is 2022 data, it's a 2.2 billion USD global market, right? So which is a huge percentage of the global market, in terms of other industries as well. And it's one of the most promising market that is supposed to grow over the next few years, right? So it has a compound annual growth rate of 22%, which is pretty high in terms of industry growth. And we are seeing, this market is supposed to be $7 billion by the end of 2030. And this is some private health expenditure map that you're seeing on the screen on the right here, where this is to show that there are countries like US and Canada, and Australia, where the cost of expenditure per person is really high, right? And then there's countries like India where the cost is low, in terms of, obviously USD, the cost is low, but there's a lot of, because of the population in China and in India, the market is very well developed and very well advanced in these countries as well. So this is just to show that there is a lot of money that's spent on healthcare on a regular basis. I just wanted to, just for basic understanding, I think there's a lot of confusion, and you see a lot of words being floating around, on what actually the healthcare industry comprises of, right? So there's three broad sector, and again, there's like five bubbles here, but there's these terminologies go sort of hand in hand sometimes, but primarily there's three basic sectors, right? And the first is therapeutics or traditional biotechs that are, creating drugs for diseases, right? So that's a separate class of healthcare, industry. Then there's medical devices. These are devices that you need to have regulatory classification on, like your ultrasound machines, your X-ray devices. Those are the kind of medical devices that are used for either diagnostics or treatment purposes. And then there's digital health, right? You have apps, and nowadays you have like tools that can help you to diagnose or prognose a disease. And then there's healthcare IT, which is more like operational technologies that are helping you to gather data, to analyze data, to collect patient information, etc. However, in general, you'll see these words floating around called medtech, health tech, digital health, digital therapeutics, biotech, life sciences. I think all of these are classified under like the same health science domain, but in broadly, very broadly, it's therapeutics, medical device, and digital health, right? So they control like 30% of the market. There's quite a bit of differentiation. Obviously, in market-wise, therapeutics is obviously the biggest because drug market is obviously pretty high. But if you see company shares, this like 30% therapeutic, 30% medical devices, 30% digital health, and then there's 10% of healthcare IT. These are what we are seeing currently, right? And on the left, these are trends that have been seen after COVID-19. We have seen a surge in healthcare spend and investment, which has gone up. And then there's more scientific advancements that are coming through. We have seen a shift to telemedicine and digital focus and more innovations in the AI and connectivity, just because what COVID has showed that data is very important. And then alternative care models, as I was saying, like telemedicine and remote monitoring of patients. This is becoming a current trend of that's going to stick for quite some time. But also, what we are seeing right now is on the deficit side, we are seeing big health disparities, right? We are seeing countries like US, where it's not universal and not free healthcare. People are not getting treated, they cannot afford treatment. Even in health wise, like food and diet are causing different sort of stressful environments for the health, and creating a health economic burden. We are seeing healthcare worker shortage and burnouts, right? There's a huge staffing shortage in countries like Canada right now. There's not enough nurses, not enough doctors, and we are seeing even in India we are seeing a lot of burnout in physicians, right? Because they're working incredible number of hours, they're getting burnt out, and there's nothing in the system that's helping them to sort of reduce their workload. Mental health is a big focus, as SP was telling you that I have been involved in the Center for Addiction and Mental Health for a few years, and what I've seen is there's a huge mental health burden in healthcare industry itself that's sort of going to cause a long-term effect on the system as well. And then there's macroeconomic issues, like we are seeing high inflation rates, we are seeing like climate change, we are seeing political crisis like Ukraine Russia war. These are having an impact on overall industry in terms of trades, in terms of innovation, in terms of getting investments, right? So these things always will have an impact on healthcare. So what are we doing in terms of like new things? And that's what um, I'm going to talk about next, is like therapeutics, right? What's the future of therapeutics, and what kind of new techniques are coming for curing diseases? The first thing I would talk about is gene therapy and gene editing, right? And these, a lot of people might have heard about CRISPRs, and CRISPRs are like molecular scissors. They're called molecular scissors. They're fragments that can help cut a particular portion of a genetic sequence, and then you can cut it and sort of edit it and reinsert it back into the genome. So that there's obviously every disease is caused by some sort of genetic modification, right? Either it's a mutation or an amplification, and this can help alleviate that problem. So there's a lot of research that's happening right now in gene editing and gene therapy using CRISPR technologies to help and cell and gene therapy as well, like individual molecular at cell level, introducing functional genes into the patient's cell so that the cell starts to function properly and the disease can be cured. So there's a lot of research that's going on in this particular field. The next thing is immunotherapy, and this is the next big thing. There's only a few startups in the world right now who are working on immunotherapy specifically. So, obviously our body fights infections, right? So we have our immune system through which we fight infections, like, common flu, influenza, etc., right? And we have vaccines to sort of boost the immune system as well. But what we are trying to do right now in terms of immunotherapy is basically using CAR T cell therapy techniques. So CAR T is chimeric antigen receptors. They're a specific sort of a receptor that sits on a cell that can be identified, and they can be modified in a way that can target their own cells, right? So you are sort of training your body to target the bad cells, like, so they're helping you to treat diseases like cancer, right? Where there's cellular anomalies and there's cellular growth that is not a part of a regular normal healthy human being, right? So they're trying to fight that through uh, creating your own sort of defense mechanism. The next is precision medicine, and this term has been floating around, for quite some time now. But I think we are at the verge of this, breakthrough where we are going to see more and more personalized and precision medicine, right? And what it means is basically tailoring medicine that is suited to your body, right? So, every human being is different in certain ways, right? Their genomic makeup is genetic makeup, their genome is very different from one person to other, right? So, generic medicine, like if you have a disease and I'm prescribing you a generic medication, that is not sometimes working for everyone, right? So now it's like, based on the genomic data that you can get, how can you personalize the medication for a particular human being so that they can be treated in a better way, right? So this is happening as well. And then lastly, nanomedicine, right? We're using nanoparticles to deliver drugs, and this is mostly in the drug delivery mechanisms, to deliver drugs to particular targeted organisms, right? So, let's say you have a liver cirrhosis, right, and you are, given a medication. That medication has a side effect on the kidney, on the pancreas as well, right? It's not targeting the liver cells particularly, but with nanoparticles and nanotechnology, you can sort of coat the materials in a in a way where it can be delivered exactly to the cells where you want to. And that's why this is very important, because this can have very limited side effects, because it is sort of treating exactly the cells that it's supposed to. So these are sort of the trends in the therapeutics field. I'll move on to medtech, and in sort of medtech, I've sort of combined healthcare, IT, digital health, and medical devices together, just because they are sort of in some ways connected to each other and being sort of researched in some similar ways. So the first thing is artificial intelligence. Now, over the last 10 years, we have heard about artificial intelligence. Even like from 1990s, people have been working on some form of artificial intelligence, right? But now with ChatGPT, and I don't know how many of you have heard about ChatGPT. I'm hoping everyone has. But if you haven't, then you should look into ChatGPT. I use it on a regular basis as well. But it has sort of brought artificial intelligence to the forefront, right? So AI and ML, using data to sort of predict diagnosis and to predict disease patterns. Uh, this is going to um, be a very, very frequent thing these days, right? People are, over the years, research institutes, big pharma, they have collected tons of data, and now this data can be used to sort of show patterns on how people are behaving and how people are, dealing with their diseases, and sort of to catch disease before even they are done. So, as I was telling in the beginning, it's like precaution first, prevention second, and cure third, right? So if we can identify a disease that can happen in the future, then we can do the precaution and prevention better. And that's where AI comes in. And currently, there's different forms of AI being used in healthcare. There's machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, conversational AI, and generative AI. And ChatGPT is an example of generative AI. But these kind of models are being used on a regular basis now. The next is robotics, and again, like we have seen robotics more in a fun sort of environment, entertainment business more. Now people are really looking into robotics uh, in the healthcare field, especially robotic surgeries, helping physicians, guiding physicians do surgeries using robotic arms and etc. One thing that has come to, and I sort of classify it under robotics and automation as well, as 3D printing, right? I'm currently working with a startup from India that are doing 3D printing models of sort of organs that can help you identify a particular tumor on a particular and dissect at an early earlier stage, so that the physician knows how to exactly cut through, right? So it's saving a lot of lives through these kind of technologies. I'm working with another 3D printing startup where they're creating or printing obsolete parts of devices that are being used. Like, let's say a 20-year-old ultrasound machine that has a non-functional part, they can 3D print that part and help keep that machine running. So they're saving thousands of dollars for the healthcare, for the healthcare organization or the hospital, right? So these are kind of tools that are being used. We have seen robotic patient transfer units. We are seeing robotics delivery within the healthcare system, right? So delivering food unmanned from one part of the hospital to the other, and delivering medication to every bed in a hospital. These are the things that we are seeing with more and more robotics. Um, Blockchain and cybersecurity. Obviously, when you talk about blockchain, you think about cryptocurrency, right? But blockchain, the way the technology is built, it basically securely can share data and between different sort of entities and different forms, right? And that's where I think blockchain is going to be very important, as we have people, patients nowadays want to have a better control of the data. And since they want better control, they want to share that data with different authorities, right? From, let's say, you are getting a lab result from one of the labs that you did a blood test, and you want to share that with your physician. There's no better way right now than to just log into a system and maybe print out a copy and go to the physician and giving it to the physician and saying this is what the report is, right? We are still dealing with like X-ray plates and things like that. Those are things of the past, right? And with blockchain, that secure data transaction can be very effective. And with that comes obviously an emphasis on cybersecurity, right? Because health data is one of the most precious. I think health and finance, these are the two data which are top classified data for every individual. And to have that kind of data access, it needs to be protected from hacks and data leakage, right? So a lot of emphasis from all regulatory bodies, whoever are forcing, like we have Health Canada in Canada, we have FDA in the US. They are trying to have these measures in place, so that any new tools that is collecting patient information can have the very strict cybersecurity measures in place. Quantum computing and big data, I sort of merge them together. They're two very sort of connected things, but they're very different. So quantum computing is basically using quantum computers to process vast amounts of data. It's sort of using quantum mechanics techniques on computation. It's not created for like day-to-day tasks that we perform on a laptop or a computer. They're there to process vast amounts of data that a regular computer or even a server or cloud computer cannot handle. And these are being used extensively in medical imaging because the data size and the data amount is pretty huge in terms of medical imaging, and it's being used, slowly it's being used right now. There's not a lot of quantum computing access that people have still, like there's big companies like Amazon and Microsoft and IBM who have quantum computers that people can sort of use on a pay per use basis. But I think this is going to be, and this is leading to big data as well, right? So huge amounts of data that needs analysis and sort of extracting information that is sort of going to be beneficial for the patient, for the person. That understanding that is going to be very important, right? So these are coming up as well. And this is, I think, something that everyone can sort of associate with right now is Internet of Medical Things, right? And IoT, which is Internet of Things, is any connected devices, any phones, laptops, any whichever can collect data. And now there's Samsung watches and Apple watches that can gather a lot of data from your health perspective, right? So your SpO2, your like oximeter readings, your pulse, your heart, blood pressure. There are devices like Samsung has got FDA clearance in the US to collect blood pressure. Same goes for Apple Watch as well. So these are data that is being collected by sensors. There's other kinds of sensors as well, like the Aura Ring, and which are direct consumer products that are available in the market. There's different kinds of fall sensors, fall prevention sensors, movement sensors that are being used in healthcare right now, which is leading to like remote patient monitoring. And I think everyone, like even our phones, are collecting some form of data, passive data from on our health as well. Like if you go to like this Google Health and Samsung Health, they're trying to create this platforms or collect data that can be collected through sensors on the phone as well. Um, so these are sort of some of the topics that are going to trend over the next few years. I've sort of summed up some of the skills that I think aspirants would need to survive in the and flourish in the healthcare industry in the future. I think from therapeutics perspective, I think there is going to be a huge focus on regulatory. Now, there is already a focus on regulatory compliance and dealing with different regulatory bodies like FDA, Health Canada, in India, China as well, right? So there's Food and Drug Administrations everywhere. I think there is going to be a very sort of acute um, focus on regulatory approvals, and there is a shortage of people in this particular field. It's a sort of grueling work. It's very there's legal implications to it as well. And connected to it is also intellectual property, right? Patents, trademarks, copyright, trade secrets. Understanding how an intellectual property can be protected, and this is something that every startup nowadays is looking into. This is something that every company has to some extent invested in. So we need more professionals in the intellectual property field. Clinical trials are being organized. We are seeing more decentralized clinical trials, which means you are doing the recruitment sort of throughout a particular country, not just one site specific. So it's clinical trial and its design is going to be very important. We are seeing more and more collaborative research and how to do it. So collaborations between different multi-country international collaborations, even collaborative research between interdisciplinary fields. So that's going to be very important. Ethics and ethical considerations of every drug that's coming into the market, that's like a big field. Pharmacogenomics, which is how drugs are affecting you individually, and that's something that's coming up very based on your genomes. So you can, again, connected to personalized medicine, precision medicine, and then personalized medicine as well. This is something that is going to stay for the next few years for sure. In terms of medtech, I think medtech is going to see the biggest flourish over the next few years. There's, obviously data science. We have been seeing data science for the last few years, and it's going to stay for another 10, 15 years for sure. There's a huge focus on cybersecurity. So there's a lack of cybersecurity um, trained people in healthcare who understand what healthcare data is, and that's going to be very important for the future. Having technological proficiency is very important, right? So I think even if you are, if you become a doctor, you need the technological proficiency now to try new innovative products to see, to deliver better patient care to your patients. Quality and risk management in terms of developing new healthcare products is going to be very important. And again, there's a lack of people who have these skills in healthcare. Obviously, AI ML is going to be big. We need more people who understand healthcare and AI ML, because a lot of the people that are currently working on AI ML models, they are from the computing science background, and they don't objectively always understand healthcare data. So that's going to be important. Health equity is going to be a big, as I said, like the current trend is that there is a disparity in healthcare delivery in health overall, and a lot of countries, especially across North America, Europe, Australia, we are seeing a huge focus on health equity to sort of have same level of healthcare delivery for everyone. Um, User centric feedbacks, and so connecting relationship management with users, and getting user feedback, user centric designs to create new products is going to be very important. And then biomedical engineering overall, right, as a field, I think is going to grow over the next few years. I think in general, right now, what healthcare professionals need is, first of all, continuous learning. It keeps updating every few years. Obviously, COVID had a huge push, and people are, more aware of a lot of different things now. You need to be adaptable. We are faced with sometimes situations where we need to pivot, and healthcare is a field where you need to pivot pretty fast, because patients don't wait. You need a lot of entrepreneurship. We are seeing huge amount of innovation coming out. Even I work with a number of startups from India, and the kind of innovation that's coming out is incredible. And I think to keep up the pace, I think more entrepreneurship is needed in the field as well. You need to be interdisciplinary as well, right? You cannot have only, there gone are the times where you just focus on one subject, and you become the master of it, and then you don't have, is the time where you have to become jack of all trade to master of all trades. So it's always good to learn more about different fields, like whether it's quantum mechanics, whether it's blockchain technology, whether it's cybersecurity, which are not traditionally healthcare fields, but they are being very important part of the healthcare industry right now. Data literacy is very important, and in general, how to understand data, where data is coming from, what the data is showing you, to understand that data, and seeing what is important and what is not important is very essential to move forward in the healthcare field right now. Professionalism and compassion, I think, is very, in general, for any professionals, especially in the healthcare field. I think these are very, very critical, just because you are dealing with patients who, you are dealing with people, even if you're not into direct patient care, right? People like us who are working with innovations, you need to have compassion for the, end users, right? Who are going to use it, because otherwise there's no point doing a product, right? um, Project management is going to be very important. I think everyone should have project management skills, because at one time of your career or the other, you will be using project management. And then the last two is obviously problem solving and critical thinking, because healthcare is a field where there's a lot of problems, right? And when you go into deeper of each subject in each, research area, you'll see that there's a lot of problems that still need to be solved. There's a lot of new diseases that need to be cured. Even the diseases that we haven't been able to find a proper cure, there's a lot of things that are required. There are not a sort of critical thinking that's required, and I'm pretty sure this will help you succeed in your careers as healthcare professional. So what I was thinking is maybe we can do like a quick exercise for with the students, and just sort of have some idea, like, and just again, like, there's no right or wrong answer in these ones. Like, think of three types of data that your devices are collecting, right? Everyone's using a smartphone. Everyone's, and I've already given a few examples of things that are already being collected. But what kind of data do you think your devices are collecting? And how can you use this data, right? That's the thing, that what can you do with this data? um think
Okay.
of one disease. Yeah, sorry.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
can I request everyone to switch on the camera and yeah, all of you, please. And before we get into this exercise, I just wanted to make one point, Bibasan, with your permission.
Sure.
Um, so the smart devices, the sensors, which more and more the healthcare industry and in general, all of us will start using, are using, it's collecting tons of data about us
Hmm.
and about
Hmm.
our health, and and it is getting stored somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, and do you see in future, maybe in next 5 years or so, that all this collected data of ours, the personalized data, are getting actually fed into the general health care system of any country, as well as to the companies like, let's say, health insurance, for example.
Hmm.
So, is there a danger you see in terms of these personalized data getting collected
So
and getting utilized by
yeah.
the insurance companies give you the right kind of insurance or reject your insurance?
um so yes, so there is, and that's where the ethical considerations come in, right? And we have seen, Facebook being sued for these very same reasons, right? Collecting information that they're not supposed to. Now, to some extent, we are allowing them as well, right? But you know, again, we have to think how much of that data means to us, and who are they going to sell to, right? And most likely, and my, I might be wrong here, but most likely these people are going to sell to big pharma, right? And they are going to use this data to see whether their drugs are working or not, right? And which is not a bad thing in the at the end of the day. uh, Again, like, there are regulations being put into place. Big companies have always flirted with these regulations. So insurance, yes, there is a downside that they might use it against us. But also there is that ownership of data that's coming in as well in the future, where you own the data and you decide what to do with it, right? And if there's direct usage against you for that data, from if they have not collected it from legitimate sources, then they cannot use it, right? So these kind of regulations are in place already. How much they'll be using it to, sort of, in a backdoor way, you cannot prevent that anyways. But there's going to be pros and cons, right? Social media, right? When we first started social media, there were so many pros, right? Now we are seeing more of the cons, right? So I think too much of everything is bad. So I think there needs to be a balance. But I think there's all regulatory bodies are looking very minutely into these as well. So I think it should be okay.
Okay. Okay. So we'll go on to this exercise, and over to you then.
Yeah, so anyone can jump in, and first of all, let's do with the first question, right? Three types of data that your devices are collecting, right? Whether it's a smart watch, whether it's a phone, what kind of data are being collected, and how can you use this data, right? Or what can you do with this data, right? What is it showing to you?
Okay, we can start with Sachi. You can start with.
So collecting emails and then health related information, like they ask for various blood groups before they enter the data, and addresses, locations.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, how this is being used, I can tell you an example, Sachi. So address, right? And something that has seen, there are, companies right now, who can sort of, when you need a service, they can, ping you a particular location. So if you are in a distress, there are apps where you can, press a button and they'll take you to the nearest emergency, or they can send an ambulance directly to the current location that you are in, right? So that's something that, ambulatory services has been used in different countries for, and they are using, precise location from the phone to sort of pinpoint where, if you have met an accident or something, right? Anyone else?
Ekjot, Meghna, Prithvi.
Yeah, just the same. First is social media and media data, all the videos, photographs. Second is just location and personal data, like personal details, information, birth details, and all. Third
Mm-hmm.
is the bit personal data, like previous appointment lists and like
Mm-hmm.
visitations, all of that data with uh contact lists with doctors, which we have, and
Yes.
plus if someone is can have connected a watch Siri, so that data is a whole
Mm-hmm.
different data of proper health report and health charts. So
Mm-hmm.
there are these kinds of data, but yeah, the limitation
Great.
factor over here is just that how many people understand to
Exactly,
read and
exactly.
handle that
So
data. That's the major.
exactly. I totally agree. Yeah, and Ignore, I think you picked a very right point. When you're talking about appointments and lists, and your
Yeah.
sort of day-to-day schedule, that's on a phone, right? Let's say, right? So I was working a few years back. I was working on an app which is basically going to look at your schedule and going to predict what's going to be beneficial for you in terms of your health, right? And these are sort of specific patient population that they're looking into, like, schizophrenic patient population, where they
Yeah.
have motivational deficit. They have to get out of the home. They cannot stay in the home for a long time. They're feeling scared, paranoia, about going out. So to boost them, they're seeing their regular schedules and they're predicting where to go next, right? And how they can do it. Anything else, anyone?
Prithvi, Meghna.
Sir, I would like to say one point. It's
Yeah.
it, I saw this clip somewhere of Mark Zuckerberg being interviewed in a court.
Yeah.
So Mark was being asked the question, would you like to tell the world the hotel you're staying in? And he answers no. Would you like to tell what friends you chatted with today? And he said no. And they asked us many more questions. And then the judge said that that is what the violation of Facebook's data policy has been happening all along. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so there are many types of data that were being accumulated per day, like there's location data, there's what your phone, what photos you take, who you chat with, of course,
Mm-hmm.
where have you been today, all these types of data. And um, a few people like Facebook may not use it in most right way, and it might be able to
Yeah.
be right way. For example, if you're cycling down, for instance, in the national park or something, and then you get a heat stroke, you faint, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
you can that will allow the location data. Say you've been going like 15 kilometers an hour, and then you instantly stop. That might raise some
Mm-hmm.
red flag.
Yeah.
Be used that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's amazing. Like, exactly that's how it's been currently used as well. There's specific apps that can track, like, if you has a even Samsung, I think, has come up with a fall drift sensor, right? So if there's a crack,
Yes, even
if there's a
Apple has.
fall, yeah, Apple has the same, right? Samsung and Apple, they're sort of like same thing. Like, smartphones have these features right now where they're using, like, the fall detection and everything to see where the patient is, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I would like to add is like, your movement, right? How much you are moving in and out of your seats, right? Step counts, like very, very basic things. Step count are like pedometers basically have been installed into these kind of sensors, have been on the phone for like last 5 years, right? And we have this data, right? The only thing is we don't get any actionable insights on what to do, right? So now if you sort of have a healthmate app or a Apple Health app, whatever, right, phone you are using, you would get like you walk 10,000 steps a day, right? And how does it affect your health? Because if you keep tracking them, you can track your height, weight, body weight, BMI, everything on your phone right now, right? And along with it, if you're doing a regular routine exercise schedule, you can track those things on your phone as well. So these are sensors, these are some things that you are inputting. These are things that it's collecting on its own, and then using those, you can like blood FPO2, and it's measuring your pulse rate, and through these you can use that information to sort of take actionable insights into your health. Like, you are gaining weight, okay, you need to exercise more. Am I losing weight over a period of time? That those are the things that you can right now do using the kind of devices that you have, right? So these things are already in place now. Obviously, a lot of companies are coming up with specialized sensors to do specialized things, that can give further insights, and then they're sort of using, they're putting in software subscription models on the top of it to sort of add sort of actionable insights, right? They're asking a dietitian to come and say how your eating habits has been. Nowadays there's apps where you can take a picture of a food and it'll show how much calories you're eating, through that photo, right? And so that's what's been, these things are being used for, which is again, like, we're focusing on the good things that can happen. Okay, moving on to the next question. I think, think of one disease that can be cured by precision medicine, right? And how do you know how that can be done, or do you have any idea?
Sir, may I?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So from as far as I can remember, precision medicine helps us target a particular kind of cancer cells or tumor cells. So breast or ovarian cancers of certain type, or cystic fibrosis, or leukemia, or even diabetes can be cured by precision medicine. Precision medicine is also, I think, called personalized medicine. So it is like cost effective and time effective, and cut downs various like trial and error inefficiencies.
Perfect. I think I wanted you to name one disease. You have named five, so that's great. Yes, but obviously, type 1 and type 2 diabetes both have shown like great results, because, as you would know, insulin does not work on everyone, and there are particular reasons for that. And diabetes is a huge big case for precision medicine, because it has been shown that there are different medication that's required. Like, even metformin has multiple different effects, right? It is used for PCOS, it's used for diabetes, and it sometimes does not have the effect, and then there's synthroid, and so there's so this, sorry, not synthroid, so that's for thyroid. Even for thyroid stimulating hormones, like, for hypothyroidism and thyroidism, it has been shown to have good implications, as well. Okay, so one disease that we overcame in the last few years because of new technology. I just added this question for fun.
Sir, I know one.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Prithvi.
Sir, so in Africa, there's this disease called the black eye disease. So I think it was, I'm not sure if that's the correct name, but essentially what would happen if these mosquitoes who breed near lakes, they come and bite you,
Mm-hmm.
your eyes go black and they go blind, you go
Mm-hmm.
blind. So the Bill Gates Foundation, they have helped eliminate this disease. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Great.
Yeah, so that's one.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, when I put this question in, I thought everyone would say COVID, right?
Yes,
Because
even I thought
uh,
so.
yeah, I thought everyone would think COVID just because it wouldn't have been possible without the mRNA vaccines, right? And if the mRNA platforms were not there, and it was being tested again for the last 10, 12 years, and from the time of the 2005 flu that went around, but it was being developed, and it was a great new technological innovation that actually saved all of us.
Just to add here, interestingly, I heard about a book called Disease X, and
Mhm.
very recently it has been published. I heard about
Okay.
it over a podcast, and what it says is that the COVID-19, what we saw, is not definitely the last disease which has come. So
Oh, no.
we're going to see similar diseases coming forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the best part is there is
100%,
a template.
SP.
Yeah,
There,
yeah, yeah.
there's
Go
That's
ahead.
like
why
we
I have
had the
not
Spanish
said
flu.
COVID-19 actually, because there is a chance of mutation. It just keeps on
Yeah,
mutating. So yeah, there is slight
exactly.
chance that it can survive still. So yeah,
Yeah, it's like, so
but
viruses
it's
have been able to
in
survive,
a
right?
different
As
way
long
that
as
we
we have.
can go immune from that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also you have to think like, Spanish flu was there as well, right? And if it wouldn't have happened in 1919, it would have been probably
Yeah.
even bigger than COVID, right? And that time we didn't have aeroplanes to bring diseases from China to all over the world, right? And
Mm.
and at that time it just happened in Spain. It just went through, ravaged through Europe, and that was it. Like, so these kind of diseases are going to come back. Like every century, there's one, major flu plague that has happened over the, if you throughout the history, and it is going to come into the future. And I think that's where AI comes in as well, as SP, right? We have these amount of data that is being collected, and I think there would be a time where we would be able to predict, at least with fair accuracy, that if something's going to come up, and how to combat that something, right? And hopefully, we will again be able to find a way around. Okay, last question of the day, and I think we have 6 minutes. Yeah, sorry, anyone has
Yeah,
question,
can
comment?
we
Yeah.
say, I'm not sure, but can we say we have eradicated polio from India because of technology? Not new,
Absolutely,
but old
absolutely.
one.
100%. Every vaccine is a new technology, right? And the only thing that we have seen during COVID, and I think I discussed this with SP in one of my previous podcasts with him as well, that it's just the time frame, right? The vaccine for malaria took 20 years, 30 years to make. COVID-19 took 3 years, right? Which is or 2 years, even like 1.5, 2 years, which is incredible time frame to have such amount of clinical trial done, and regulatory compliance done. What it has done in the negative sense is it has pushed a lot of other drugs down the pipeline as well, because obviously a lot of resources were focused only on COVID-19, which sort of prevented other things from happening parallelly. So those things are up and running now, but incredible time zone. But polio, fantastic example. Like, it's been eradicated from most of the world right now, I think, except a few countries in Africa, which is great, because it shows the power of vaccines, right? Okay, I think we have 5 minutes left. SP, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, go
Quickly,
ahead.
last question then. Three things that you can change, automate in the current healthcare delivery right now. Let's say in India, right? You have a you are feeling a symptom. You go to a doctor, and or you go to end up in a hospital. What would you change? You have seen your near ones go to hospitals as well. What things you think you can automate, change in the current delivery system, healthcare delivery system?
So I want to add.
Yeah, sure.
So when we buy a pack of medicines, it's compulsory to buy a strip of 10, and that's unused. What to do with the remaining ones? Especially when we buy
Absolutely.
bottles of syrups, half is used and half is empty. It's waste.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I have a counter to that thing as well. So nowadays, in pharmacies here, actually, which is I think a better model again. What they do is they prescribe you a medication for a particular time frame, right? So let's say you have antibiotics are sort of bad examples, but um, let's say you want to take metformin for some reason. Let's say you have PCOS. So the doctor will prescribe you two medication every day for the next 60 days, right? Which is 2 months. And after the 2 months, they'll reevaluate your symptoms again. They'll do a blood test and see whether that's valid or not. So you get that medication for 60 days only. Now, I've had a very high sort of rashes and hives and sort of some sort of allergic reaction to something. I don't know to what, but it was really bad. So when I went to see the doctor, they gave me four medicines actually. So they gave me one medication, four doses, and that was it, right? I couldn't get more. So there's no strips of 10. You get four medicine put in a bottle, you have that, you take it for 4 days. If you are cured, it's fine. If you're not cured, you go back to the doctor again and say this is not gone, and he'll add another prescription for, let's say, another 5 days. So I think this is a better way to control medication. Now, obviously, it's easier said than done in countries like here. Since there's universal healthcare, the pharmacies have a better control. There is franchises, right? Every pharmacy is their own. They're trying to sort of push their own business. So as long as they're not centralized under sort of a banner, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And with the scale in India, it becomes difficult. But I think it's doable. I think there's companies definitely that are going to do that in the future in India.
But Sachi, I think what you pointed out is an interesting idea, which probably
Very interesting.
some
It's a
some of
huge
the
it's a huge cost, SP. If
So
you
most
think
of
of
the
that.
government hospitals do return the medicines, even if they're half. It's just the private
Mhm.
pharmacies where we face
Exactly.
problem. And if we open a bottle, we cannot return it. So that's
correct.
Exactly.
if any hospital can take it back, we are ready to give it away
It creates
so that it
problem for
doesn't get
others as well.
expired in our home in the almeras.
It
Mhm.
creates problem
But
Exactly.
for
Sachi, I
others
think
as
it's a
well
brilliant
because
idea.
other patients
If
don't get the medicine on
some
time.
of the
So
young
that's
people can take this idea
also
forward
okay.
for India, it is actually
Absolutely.
doable.
Absolutely. It's very doable. As I said, like you just need to manage the private pharmacies under sort of a regulatory body, and then have a system where you'll be given exact doses rather than strips of medication, right? And I think there's a lot of wastage of medication in countries like India just because of that, right? And it should be controlled, and great idea.
I remember when I was small, I used to went to my local doctor. They used to give only some medicines in a porchi, and then we used to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Anyone
Okay.
else? Oh, we are at time. Anyways, yeah, we don't want to hold you up on your Sunday noon.
Yes. So, any thought on this last one? Anybody want to share?
Yes, like as an aspiring doctor, I think the major issue in India about healthcare is the cost because and the education that people don't think healthcare is necessary, especially in the rural India. So I think even if healthcare becomes a little more cost effective to the rural India, it is a change, and also technological advancements. We cannot get enough of that, and newer discoveries of treatments and diseases and the ethical practices and all. I think those are the major changes required in India especially.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely
good
right,
point.
Meghna. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
good
good
point.
point.
In fact, Meghna, you can switch on your camera if it is you're comfortable.
Actually, sir, the camera is not really fixed, so I don't know if you can see my video. That is why.
No, can't see. Anyway, I mean, just to give one more thought, because since Meghna, you are aspiring to get into MBBS soon, and I'm sure the results are going to be positive in your favor. But like you, there are so many more aspiring students like you who are looking at MBBS as an option. But I think example of Bibasan is actually is something which other aspiring students can also look at it. He always wanted to aspire to become an MBBS doctor himself, but he chose
you
a
remembered
totally,
that from my part.
yes, he chose a totally different route, but he's still part of the healthcare industry. So through this example, what I would like to say is that you can still be part of a healthcare industry, and and specifically, I'm not talking about Meghna right now. I'm just in general talking about every young aspiring young people who want to get into the healthcare industry. So story of Bibasan is actually a great inspiration, and I would definitely encourage all of you to search about him on LinkedIn and our episodes, previous episodes on the YouTube. You'll find something very useful. And thank you, Bibasan, for
Yeah, no, my
joining
pleasure,
us.
SP, my pleasure. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, and thanks. Nice to meet all of you. Hopefully, I've given you some food for thought that you can take forward.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any final
perfect.
thoughts
Thank
from
you.
anybody?
No, thank you for the knowledge, sir.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you. Very
Okay.
nice meeting you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, and see you
Thank
next week
you.
again.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.